There we go. So today we're going to do some work to really my hope for you, my goal for us is that the work of opening up the sides of our body will really renew the feeling of easefulness of breathing. Um, I know that we're always focusing on breath in our yoga practice, that it's just kind of a part of the process. The beautiful part of the process of our yoga practice is to focus on our breathing. But sometimes it's good to have a little tune up around what is happening with my breath. Like, where am I kind of anchoring down? Is there any tension patterns that's associated with my ribs or your diaphragm or any of the other aspects of the tribe of breathing that's in our body. So today we're going to kind of go around the world in those places to free up some tension. I know, the tension that we're all carrying for all the stressors that you have, both personal and universal. Um, it really affects us, and it's important to kind of check in periodically and see how it's affecting you, how stress is kind of imprinting on your body, how your breath might be involved in that. I know many of us tend to hold our breath or shorten or grip our breath when we are feeling stressed about something. So giving the opportunity for the breath to stretch out and take a walk is a really beautiful part of our yoga practice. So it's going to be a little bit of the emphasis for today. All right, so let's come to a comfortable seat and just take a moment to close your eyes and check in with yourself. And um, let's start with some appreciations. What a gift to carve out an hour of your day for your yoga practice. I honor each of you for the commitment that you have to caring for yourself in all the ways that you care for yourself, yoga included. So let's have some gratitude for making the time and commitment to be present with self. And then as you soften into yourself, rest through your eyes, soften around your vision. See if you can kind of sense into what's happening behind your eyes, around your eyes, and let that kind of broaden into the deeper aspects of your head. Can you relax around your temples, around the front of your forehead, your cheekbones? Can you sense into the fullness of your skull and just allow a little bit of melting to occur? Is there any spaciousness that you're suddenly feeling that had tension and is now letting go and um, enjoy the feeling of surrender? It's easy to have tension and not know it. So when we look and see and feel, when we find something and we release, pay attention to the feeling of release. Softening through the base of your skull, your jaw, and then traveling down through your trachea a little bit. Let's see if we can sense any tension that you might have in your throat. And there's so much going on in your throat, lots of things, your esophagus, your trachea, a lot of muscles, your spine, your ability to speak, your vocal cords. There's a lot happening in this area. So let's surrender through your neck. Mm, Climb back up just a moment into the awareness of your sinuses. Breathe through your nose and take some time to observe how the breath is moving in through your nose and swirling around in your sinuses and down through your trachea. Just this upper portion of our um, breathing, apparatus in our body, our airway. Let's see if we can just easefully open up. Is there any tension in the back of your throat or Anywhere in your sinuses that you can surrender. And then bring that awareness down a little deeper into your body and see if you can sense the trachea, sense the bronchi, these big pathways of breath. And then imagine and feel into your lungs themselves. If the visualization of what you know about your lungs helps, great. And if you'd rather just pinpoint actual sensation with your mind's eye, that's great. Whatever gives you access to knowing you're breathing. Now that you kind of have an imprint of the pathway of breath from the nose into the sinuses, down the trachea to the bronchi, to the bronchioles, to the lung tissue. Let's also expand our awareness to all the ways that we're supporting our breathing. So first, let's sense into the diaphragm, or the engine. This is the front car of the breathing apparatus, the engine of the breath. So let's feel our way into the diaphragm. Diaphragm does not have a lot of nerve endings, sensory nerve endings, as much as other parts of the body. So feel what you can. Notice what changes on the inhale and what changes on the exhale. Can you feel your way all the way into the back of your body and sense where that diaphragm attaches into your rib cage, all around your ribs, front, back, sides? Start to accentuate your breathing. Let it get a little slower and longer and deeper. Commit to a healthy posture of the spine to support what your diaphragm is capable of. And then bring your awareness, if you can, to the upper portion of your diaphragm and how it kind of coalesces into this fascial sheath that comes upward and wraps around your heart. So that pericardial sac is fascially connected to the diaphragm. Sometimes I think of it like an hourglass, where we wrap around the heart, narrow through that passageway and then broaden out to the wider diaphragm. Every time you breathe, you massage your heart. Every breath you take, your heart gets a little bit of movement by the diaphragm. So enjoy your mobility. We're going to work a little bit with this today. Now bring your awareness into your rib cage and all the muscles that move your ribs, in between your ribs, in the back of your body. All of your muscles, there's so many that really contribute to the rib cage mobility. So feel your ribs open, feel your ribs condense. And again, span the awareness of around, all across the front, the back, the sides, the top of your rib cage, the bottom of your rib cage, to sense the fullness of this part of your body. And then lastly, bring your awareness back up to your shoulders and your neck and just see what muscles are helping here to breathe. And we're going to come back to some pranayama at the end of our practice. So, just kind of having an imprint of knowing these parts of our body, feeling into these parts of our body can be very helpful. And when you're ready, place your hands together at your heart and let's offer an intention around healthy breathing today. Can you um, have gratitude first and foremost for the ease of breath? And can you share just a little bit of commitment with your lungs that you will care for them today, that you'll try to have some good, healthy breathing to support yourself? And then any other intention that's floating around in your heart or mind. Release your hands and let's find our way onto our back. All right, so as we stretch out and lengthen in our body, when we have a different orientation to gravity, things tend to change. So sense into that, feel how the shape of your lungs just shifted by lying down. Is it easier to breathe here? Is it harder to breathe when you're lying down? Do you notice any difference at all? Also pay attention to whether the normalcy of breath pattern is easier when you're lying. So let's put our hands onto our belly for a moment, actually higher than your low belly, kind of above your belly button, and below your ribs, kind of in that diaphragmatic space here. And when you breathe in, see if you can just gently billow out under your hands. And as you breathe out, can you feel the fall? This is harder to feel sometimes when we're standing vertical with gravity, but just sense that normal breath where our diaphragm moves down and wide as we inhale and draws back in and up when we exhale. This may seem simple, but for many people who are reverse breathers, this is not easy. So just imprint a few breaths here. You know, we have 15 to 20,000 breaths a day. That's a lot of breaths. Okay, so let's see if we can just catch hold of a few and give an imprint. All right, and then stretch your arms overhead and let's reach here. Reaching your right side and reaching your left side and enjoy the side bodies opening up a little bit. Little breaths here. Does it feel good to stretch your shoulders, stretch your hips, stretch your sides? Enjoy your sensations. All right, and then draw your knees into your chest and give a little hug, a little rocking if it feels nice. And hang on to the knees and let's circle and just warm up your pelvis a little bit, your low back, your sacrum, your hips, circling your knees and then switch directions and circle them the other way. Rest your head. A lot of the tension that can creep into our neck and shoulders happens because we want to control our head. Let's see if we can just soften it down. And then take your knees and open them up away from the middle and swirl them back in toward the middle. So that you just get this feeling of ease across your hip joints, loosening things up a little bit. Okay. And then right knee into your chest, left leg long on the ground. Wiggle around in your ankles, your toes, get some freedom in your feet. Check in with your head again. Did it want to pick itself up and do some work? Melt it down. It's amazing how much our heads want to lean forward and be involved in every aspect of what we're doing. So keep melting your skull down toward the ground. Okay, let's switch sides. Left knee into your chest, right leg long on the ground. Feel free to move about in your ankles, wiggling through your toes. Enjoy that freedom of your feet. And then stretch big and wide on the ground. Open up your body, wiggle your fingers and toes, roll around in your ankles, anything that feels good in your wrists. And then draw your knees into your chest and round your spine. Pick up your head now, tuck it on in. And inhale, open up. See if you can make this feel like the breath where we expand on the in breath and we condense our body on the out breath. Like the body is mirroring what's happening in the breathing. One more. Put your feet down onto the ground, arms out to the side like a T. Stretch your fingers and walk the back of your hands all the way to your finger tips into the ground. So open up your palms and let that give an imprint to your chest. Let's rock our knees left and right, a little bit of windshield wipering. So we may think of the muscles that control our breathing kind of being up in our chest, but let's remember how connected our transverse abdominis, that deep abdominal muscle, is to our breathing. Our QLs are integral to our breathing. There's a lot of muscles that attach to those back lower ribs, like your QL. All right, then relax and bring your arms down at your side. Cross your right thigh over your left, draw your knees in. Relax your head again. Maybe pulse a few times with your knees toward the chest. Opening up your hips just a bit here. And then let's lift those legs straight up. Bring your arms overhead. Knit your ribs down. Start to find some integrity in the core of your body. Let's flex and point our feet while we're here. So even though we're firing up the engines of our core and our transverse abdominis is absolutely engaged, can you still move? Even though, there's a little more restriction of the diaphragmatic movement, can you still move the breath? And then lower your legs down straight or bent, however you want to get down. Once your feet are down onto the ground, we'll cross our left thigh over our right thigh and draw your knees into your chest. Maybe a little bit of pulsing here to easily open up those hips. How's the head? Can you check in again and melt it toward the ground? How's your breathing? All right, and then one more time, arms overhead, legs straight up. Maybe have a flex point, or maybe just circle your feet while you're up there and feel a different sensation in your feet. Integrate your core, drop your rib cage down toward the ground, stabilizing to the earth. Breathe. Notice where the breath is allowed to go when you're stabilizing. Keep the breath moving. Try not to restrict your breathing, even though you're stabilizing with your core muscles. And this is a good way to sense, oh yeah, my transverse abdominis, my core muscles really do impact my diaphragmatic movement. Your diaphragm may have to move sideways, outward, ribs moving out to the sides instead of belly rising and falling. And then slowly lower your legs down to the ground. You can bend your knees or straighten them to come into that position. Put your feet onto the ground, arms out to the side, and let's windshield wiper our knees again. So as we kind of move into this twisting vibe, notice that twisting the spine opens up the ribs differently too. I will move into a deeper twist now. Drop your knees over to the left and twist open. Turn your head to the right and breathe. Notice how different positions of your body changes the way you breathe. And then bring those knees back up. We'll shift our hips to the other side. Drop knees right. Turn head left. Open up. Relax your head again. Breathe deeply. Notice what part of your lungs, what part of your ribs easily moves, where there might be some restriction. And then stretch open to a star one more time. Full body expansion. Exhale, drawing the knees in. We'll roll to our side and come up to our hands and our knees. As you find your way onto all fours, let's begin with some cat cows. We're arching and rounding the spine, taking some time to feel that fullness of your vertebrae, the stretching open of some of your musculature. Can you feel your rib cage moving? How about your shoulder blades sliding and gliding across your ribs? How's your breath pattern? And then feel any kind of movement you want to feel. Move your spine any which way you want to move your spine. All right, and then drop back toward a child's pose. Walk the hands far out in front of you, stretching your shoulders, opening up the back of your body. All right, the first kind of side body stretch we'll take here is to just walk the hands over to one side and feel your rib cage open up on that side. As you're breathing, notice how it feels to stretch open from fingers to hip. Full side body stretch. Notice what the inhale feels like. Notice what the exhale feels like. Keep relaxing your neck. So now, the ease of your head comes from resting it down, maybe your forehead on the ground, or maybe on your arm. Over to the other side. Feel that length and reach from fingertips to hip. You might have your hips a little higher or a little lower. Just kind of sense what gives you the most capacity for a side body extension. Relax the base of your skull. Fill and empty your breathing and notice what's here. And come back to center, up onto all fours again. Give your spine a little wiggle. And I will do some rib cage rolling. So we're going to drop our ribs down toward the ground, over to the left, up toward the sky, over to the right, and down again. So circling the rib cage, getting it to puff out and broaden. I always imagine myself inside a paper towel tube, and I want my ribs to paint the inside of the tube, where you're really broadening the stroke of expanding into these different parts of your ribs. So much of the time, especially when we're on computers for a long period of time, we can get some real rigidity in our rib cage. We can have breath apnea when we're on computers. Okay, so let's mobilize. Go the other direction. Ribs over to the side, down, up. Just find your pace. Doesn't have to be fast, doesn't have to be slow. Just find your pace and make sure you're breathing and enjoy all this rib cage spreading that you're doing. Notice how connected your spine, your hips, your shoulder blades, your head, all of it's connected to this movement. And then relax and drop yourself back down to a child's pose. Breathe into the back of your body. We're going to take two blocks, have the short edge of the block next to each other, stacked into a long line. It's okay if you don't have blocks. You can do this on the floor, but a little height can sometimes help. Elbows on the blocks. Drop back towards child's pose and take your thumbs toward your spine for a tricep stretch. You can curl your toes under if you need a little more height underneath your hips. See if you can stretch from your elbows to your hips, long sides. Lift your armpits up slightly instead of collapsing down, so there's not a collapse in the shoulder joints. Thumbs toward your spine. Broaden out those triceps. And then release that action. Put your hands back onto the ground and come into puppy pose. So Walk your knees back. Our hips stay right on top of our knees, and we drop our chest toward the ground. Feel that thoracic spine. Find your breath here. Notice the back of your body. And then come back forward onto all fours. Give a little swivel in your hips or a little movement in your ribs. And then we'll find our way into a twist here, reaching your left arm up in the air. Exhale, drop that shoulder down to a spinal twist. And release your head. Again, don't let your head do the work. See if you can rest what you can. Breathe deeply. Try to fill all the lung chambers. Every little alveoli plumping up with oxygen. All right, and then we'll release that arm back up in the air. Hand down onto the ground. We'll switch sides. Arm coming up high. And then exhale and drop the arm under, twisting to the side. Breathing here and noticing what's happening as you stretch open your spine, your shoulder blades, your shoulder itself. Can you feel your body breathe? Let the head rest. And then reach that arm back up in the air. Hand comes down onto the ground. We'll find our way to a dog pose. Stretching up and lengthening here. Pedal your feet. We haven't gotten our legs involved very much yet, so just feel your legs open up, opening the calves, opening the hamstrings. Notice how the breath facilitates your mobility. Grounding down, rising up. Take advantage of the ease in your diaphragm here to breathe widely and deeply. Focus on your breath. A full deep inhale, a complete exhale. And then walk your feet forward. Come to Uttanasana. You can use some blocks if you'd like. Deep fold. Open up the back of your body. Bobble your head a little bit. Let it release. Inhale for a halfway lift, opening up through your spine, femur bones back, feet broad and open. And then exhale, melting back down again, relax the skull. One more time, a halfway lift, broad feet, sit bones high. Exhale, and melt again. Push through your feet, we'll rise up. Bring the arms to the sky, feel that extension. Let's cactus open the arms and feel that broadness of the chest. Not only the ribs and the chest and the sense of lungs, but open up the energetic heart, this spaciousness in this part of our body, our energy body. Feel a sense of lifting to the sky, the hopefulness, the courage that comes from an open heart. And then exhale and round in. Forearms come to touch round the back body. Take fists in your hands. Press your fists forwards. Widen the back of your body. And then point your index fingers forward. Inhale, lift up. Tip your ears back behind your shoulder or behind your arms if you want. And open up to a back bend. And then release your arms. Give your hands a little bit of a shake. And let's just do some big circles with the arms. Sometimes we gravitate toward stretching and opening our lower body a little bit more than our upper body. And we think of those big muscles like our hamstrings and our glutes. Okay. Then grab onto your strap or interlace your hands behind your back. Either way, whatever's comfortable for your shoulders. Drop your hands down, open across the front of your collarbones, release any tension in your neck. And then when you're ready, we'll lean forward into an Uttanasana, bringing the arms away from the spine, maybe over your head. Relax here, bend your knees so that you have support for your back body. Bobble your head. How's your breath? And then release your arms down. Come back up. Find your breath again. Just a little more tending to those muscles around your neck and shoulders. Let's stretch our hands straight out to the side, palms facing up toward the sky. Stretch all the way through to your palms. Let's lift one ear and then the other, and just feel a little bit of the nerve gliding, where we're opening up some of those big channels for our nerves to pass into our arms. All right, and then relax your hands, give them a shake again. Don't interlace. Grab onto your right wrist with your left hand behind your back. Pull down a little bit, but not so much where you're getting one shoulder dropped. Lift the ear and just feel that stretch across the top of your shoulders. Our upper traps get very involved in restricted breathing, when we're tight in our neck and shoulders, it impacts our breathing. When we hold our breath, it impacts these muscles. So let's just feel their fluidity. If you want to move your chin, you can lift your chin and drop your chin a little bit. And then come back to neutral, grab the other wrist, pull down. Don't let your shoulder drop lower than the other shoulder, and instead just have a little traction on that wrist and then lift the ear. Feeling that stretch across the upper shoulder. And maybe if you'd like, you can do a little movement with your head, lifting your chin, lowering your chin, whatever feels good to just kind of feel some of those muscles in the side of your neck and the top of your shoulder, which are very integral to your breathing. Find your breath again. And then relax back to neutral, just some gentle shoulder rolls, just letting everything kind of, those tight rubber bands release back to some ease. Okay. And then we'll find a little bit of bouncing. Whenever we bounce in our body, that rebound really good for our lungs. There's a little bit of a shake that our lymph and our organs and our joints, everything just gets a little bit of bobbling about, including our lungs. So big breath, maybe make some noise on the exhales. And then just pause here and notice how you feel. Breathing deeply. We'll do one more stretch for the upper neck and shoulders before we get into some poses. So let's cross right arm over your left arm. Drop your shoulders. Widen your collarbones. And maybe lift the elbows a little bit up and forward. And just kind of sense into those muscles around the tops of your shoulders, your neck. Breathing deeply. Let the breath travel around your ribs. If you spend a lot of time on a computer, I highly recommend some of the sequencing we've just done. And then when you're ready, we'll switch sides. Other arm on top. Drop your shoulders, wide collarbones. Stretch them out from sternum out to shoulders. Maybe you lift your elbows a teeny bit. Maybe pull them away from your chest a teeny bit. When you pull your elbows away, try not to hunker your chest back. So we want to keep the broadness of the heart space. Breathe fully. All right, and then relax and give your arms just a little bit of movement, a little shake in the hands if you'd like. Full breaths here. All right, inhale, rising up. Stretching through your side, grab onto your right feet a little bit wider than your hips, perhaps. Grab onto your left wrist with your right hand and stretch over to the side, rooting both feet well. Back up to center, over to the other side. Lift up and over instead of over and down. So think less about down and more about up. Neck is soft, surrendering. And then relax to neutral. Fold forward. Relax your spine. Soften through your skull. Inhale for a halfway lift. Opening up through the sides of your body. Exhale, melting back down. Step back to a dog pose. Feel that extension and open up. Root to rise. Open up the breath. Let's come forward into a plank. Holding yourself steady. Feel like we did when we were on our back and our legs were up in the air. That integration of the ribs and the core. Can you still breathe deeply? Right, come down to the ground. A shoulder roll or two. Take a deep breath. A cobra pose, opening the front of the spine. Exhale to come down. As we repeat this, focus on your breathing. A beautiful breath in. Full expansion of your body. Exhale and relax to melt back down. Come up onto all fours. Move your spine a little more. We'll bring our right foot in front. Come to a lunge, back knee rests on the ground. Open up that hip flexor here. Feel the reaching of that right arm up in the air. You can put your left hand on a block or on your leg to support you. Reach up and over. Can you feel the connection of your psoas to your diaphragm now? Remember the top of your psoas and your diaphragm, they attach in the same place on your spine. They communicate well with each other. And then we'll turn this into a twist. Forearm on your knee, elbow on your knee, whatever works. Twisting open. Drop the shoulders, broaden the collarbones. Find your breath. All right, bring the hands back down onto two blocks. Come into half Hanumasana. Stretch that hamstring. So we're straightening the front leg, the heels on the ground, the toes are flexed. Drop your hip and then reach your heart. Lift your heart. And from here, we're going to take two blocks, perhaps, maybe one. Stack up whatever height you need. A deep breath in and twist open to the right. Right inner thigh is releasing down. Remember all that good work we just did in our neck and shoulders. Drop the shoulders and open across your chest. And then come back to center. Hands on blocks. Lift your back knee up off the ground. And let's just have one or two passes of bending and straightening, finding the breath pattern here. Where do you inhale? Where do you exhale? There's no right or wrong. Hands onto the ground, back to a dog. Full breath here. Come on to your knees and bring your left foot forward. Finding a deep lunge. Enjoy this. A full breath in. Start to really find that rhythm of your breathing. Reach the right arm up in the air. Left hand can be on your leg or block. Let's stretch over to the left, but think up. Okay, up, up, up. Find your lunge, come into it, support it with the strength of your legs, and breathe into that space of opening the front of the hip, the front of the belly, the front of the ribs, the sides of the ribs. There's a lot going on here. Feel that connection of your psoas muscle, your front hip flexor, to the movement of your diaphragm. All right, come back, find a twist. I like to put my left hand on my thigh to keep the spine supported in its lifting. Hug into the midline with your legs. Feel the ground. Press into it. How's the breath? Are we starting to unrestrict? Are we finding some mobility in those ribs? come back to center. Let's go ahead and come to half Hanumasana, hands on blocks. Lift up your chest, drop your hip and lift up your chest. Flex your toes, finding your breath. And then we'll come into a twist. You can stack two blocks if you want, or just have one, whatever support you need. Lift that left arm up and back. Twisting to the side. Open your breath. Drop the hip down. All right, and then come back to center. Turn sideways on your mat, stay on your knees, and we're gonna come into gate pose. So right knee on the ground, left leg is stretched back. You can always put a block underneath your foot if your ankle doesn't lengthen quite like that. Okay, we'll reach our right arm up in the air, feel that extension, and up to the side we go. So again, we're not climbing down, we're going up. Let the hand that's resting on your leg be light. So the energy comes from that shin pressing down into the ground to support the lift and lengthening of the spine. Keep your neck relaxed. Breathe into the open rib cage. All right, come out of there and let's go to the second side. Left shin on the ground, right foot straight out. Line up your left knee and your right foot. Okay, the toes are pointing toward the short edge of your mat, not turned in. Okay, we're turning out like a triangle pose, or one of the standing poses that we do, that kind of external rotation in the femur bone. Press your left shin deep into the ground to reach up through your left arm and open up your ribs. Hand to knee, hand to shin, press down, rise up, root to rise. How's the breath? Can you melt through the base of your skull? Doesn't matter how far over you go, try to stay spacious in your posture. And you come back onto the shins to a child's pose. Arms down at your sides, feel your breath. Feel the breath touch the back of the body. And we'll inhale onto our shins, reaching the arms up. Hands come down onto the ground, dog pose. A big long spine. Feel how your body has changed through the practice. Feel the roots and the rising of the spine, the rising of the sit bones. Notice your breathing. Relax your head. Walk your feet forward. Come to Uttanasana. Inhale, rise all the way up. Trace down through the center. Again. Take your feet wide on your mat. So we're turning sideways. Wide legs, turn your toes out. Come to a deep squat. Elbows inside your knees. Opening up your legs in this way. Ground the four corners of your feet. And we'll come up to stand. We're going to find our way to a goddess, and we're going to do some side body movements here. So coming down to that horseman stance, goddess pose, and we'll reach one arm up and over to the side. Find your breath as you transition over to the other side. One more time. Standing star. Open up your breathing. Turn your feet forward and come down to Pasrita. Let your neck relax. Dangle the weight of your head. Notice when you go upside down the change of your breath. Turn back to the front of your mat for a dog pose again. Again, feel how your breathing is moving in your body. Let's come forward into a plank. Push the ground away. And we'll find the earth. Take your left knee up high toward your armpit. Look at your knee. And we'll find our lying down twist. Take the right arm, cross it over, and roll open. Let your head rest on the ground. Let the back of your left hand rest on the ground. Breathe your way here. Open up across your pecs, across your chest. Just enjoy the breath. Coming back to center, we'll switch sides. Bring the left knee up high toward your armpit. Take a look at it. Cross the left arm over to the right and roll open to a twist. And you can support under your knee, any moving of the pelvis that you want. So the goal here is to take the right hand, the back of the hand onto the ground and turn the head. So let the pelvis follow as much as it needs to. Big breath across your pecs. Open your chest. And then roll back onto your side and push yourself up. We're going to grab a blanket. Okay. One blanket, you can always do two, but maybe start with one, see how it feels. Roll the blanket. Okay. We're going to come into 3 different positions here. So we're going to come onto our back. You can always put a block under your head if you need it. The blanket's going to start in between our shoulder blades. Okay, so right at, the upper half of your shoulder blades is where you want the blanket to land. So you can stretch your arms overhead if that's too much for your shoulders. You can try all sorts of different positions. You can have your arms like a T. You can cactus your arms. You can put your arms like a Y or an I. So kind of find what feels good. Your knees can bend, feet on the ground, or your legs can straighten on the ground. All the choices so that your body's content, happy, and supported. Once you get comfortable, just take a couple of beautiful breaths here. Counteract a lot of that hunching that we do. Let your breath spread out and take a nice big walk. Okay, big open field, big open blue sky, just so much room. All right, we're gonna walk the blanket down after this next breath so that it's at the bottom edges of our shoulder blade. We are still at our shoulder blades, but the bottom tips of our shoulder blades. So kind of find your nook that you want to be in, and again, adjust your arms and legs to the position that you want, and take some breaths. This is a little bit more of a diaphragmatic release. So see if you can notice some of those tendrils of where the diaphragm attaches onto the ribs. We get a little stretch in that fascial connection between, the top of your diaphragm has a coalescing of all of its fibers into a stalk that comes up and wraps around your pericardium. So let's enjoy this fascial connection between the heart and the diaphragm. As you move your breath, you move your heart. So good for us. So good for us to have good diaphragmatic breathing. So much can get in the way of this. Our emotional states can get in the way of this. When we concentrate, when we are in a body position of a rounded spine, there's so much that can contribute to the tightening of this part of our body. So let's counter that with some big, beautiful breaths. All right, and then we're going to bend our knees, lift up your hips, bring the blanket all the way under your sacrum. So now the blanket's under the pelvis. We have skipped the lower back entirely. Arms can go, you can, sometimes I like to take my arms and legs wide in this. Sometimes I like to be more narrow, like a straight line with my body. Sometimes I like to put my arms down at your sides or cactus them. So just kind of experiment. And even though this doesn't feel as broadly effective for the lungs, remember that connection with the psoas muscles and the diaphragm. So let's just give a little imprint to the front of the pelvis to open and breathe. Breathe to the pelvic floor. Our pelvic floor is absolutely a part of our breathing apparatus. All right, and then keep the blanket there. Bend your knees. So slowly, gently draw your knees in toward your chest. Perhaps a little bit of rocking, perhaps stillness, perhaps legs straight up in the air, perhaps a happy baby. Kind of just find the release of the back bend in your body. We'll lift up and take that blanket out of there and either windshield wiper or go into a full twist and stay for a couple breaths on each side. However, your body feels like it's a better transition. We're almost at Shavasana, but first push through your hands. Come up to sit. Grab your blanket to sit on or your block to sit on, whatever feels supportive for you. I mean, you could do this lying down, but I recommend sitting up if you're able, if you're comfortable. Once you get into a comfortable seat, notice if there's less guarding around your belly, if you have more mobility in your diaphragm, if your shoulders can drop a little more easily than they sometimes do. Do you have a sense of feeling the ground? And then as you gently rise through your crown, try not to create tension in your body. Just enough posture to support openness. And let's just do a little bit of Ujjayi, nothing fancy, just a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Nice and slow through the nose, kind of banking the walls of the trachea a little bit so that the breath has a smooth stream. Don't feel like you have to top off the tanks. Just open yourself up for breath. Is everything moving? Is your belly and your back moving? Is your pelvic floor moving? Is your diaphragm moving? Are your ribs moving? Are your arms bobbling a little bit? Can you feel your crown rise and fall? Notice how the breath affects your whole body movement. All right, and then we'll find our way to Shavasana. If there's any posture you need, any moving around in your spine or leaning forward or twisting, anything that you need to have ease. And when we come onto your back, you might want to support your knees today. So a blanket or two blocks with the blanket on top under your knees, or putting your calves up on a chair or a couch. Try perhaps a little support there. And as you come to Shavasana, like I said, if there's anything that's needed, take a little posture here or there if you need. And when you get to a comfortable place where your legs are a little bit more supported than lying flat, notice the ease for your belly and your back and your hips. Melt your skull down into the ground. And just enjoy your body resting. Give yourself over to gravity. Feel the support of the ground melt into it. Let your breath roam free. Let's begin to deepen our breathing.
You may want to stretch out, but you also may want to curl in. And you can spend a moment curled in on your side if that feels nice and let your back body breathe.
Move yourself slowly. Stay as long as you'd like in a curled position. And when you feel ready, you can come to a comfortable seat. And notice the refreshment as you breathe in whatever position you're in, that there's perhaps a change, a little more awareness, a little more activity, aliveness in all of the places around your ribs, your lungs. This might be new sensation, waking, sleeping parts. As you come to a seat, let's bring our hands together. No rush if you're still lying on your side. Let's bring our attention to offering our energy when we tend to our own nervous system, our own breathing. We become a steady force in the world for others, for ourselves. So know that your yoga practice isn't just serving you, but it's serving everyone around you. Let's offer this energy outward. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.